Today I'm going to Sioux City, Iowa to visit the 1989 plane crash site of United Flight 232. So come along with me. While flying over Storm Lake, Iowa, the number 2 engine blew out, or actually blew, the fan blade disintegrated, and the plane was crippled. But it happened right over this town. Now, after the plane crashed and they started investigating the accident, they couldn't find any of the fan blade for the number 2 engine, so they knew that was missing. And then they had farmers calling and saying that there were pieces of airplane wreckage that were in the fields north of Storm Lake, Iowa, where the engine actually blew up. But nobody could find the fan blade, and that was the important thing. That's the thing that they thought, probably told the story about why the plane crashed. So General Electric, the makers of the engine, offered, I think it was about $100,000 reward. Although I've also read where when it was found, they actually gave $120,000 to a family. So everybody was scouring their fields looking for it. Nobody could find it. And in the fall, when they started harvesting the corn, a lady named Janice Sorensen, who lives about 10 miles north of Storm Lake, ran into something with her combine, and lo and behold, it was that fan blade. And they also found a second piece to it, so almost the entire section of the fan blade was found there. And I'm going to go take a look at that area where that was found at. Okay, right here is where the fan disc was found. This is planted in beans right now, but it was planted in corn that year. So, and this is the farm of Janice Sorensen, and she's the one that found it right back there. It's about 10 miles north of Storm Lake. You're talking about having a lottery win. I mean, having $120,000 just fall out of the sky and land on your property. What a heck of a deal. Right there is where she lived and collected the money for the reward. When Flight 232's engine blew up, they soon found out that they had no way to control the plane. All the hydraulic lines were severed, all the redundancy in the hydraulics was severed, and the only way that they could control the plane was by manipulating the 2 remaining engines on the wing. They would throttle one side up and pull one side back to correct for the plane trying to list to the right. And they also found out that they could only make right-hand turns. So the big problem was how to get back from Storm Lake to Sioux City, which is the closest airport that has a runway that's long enough for them, and do that only making right-hand turns. And they were able to accomplish it and actually line up fairly close with the runway. The problem was that they were going about twice the speed they needed to be going to land. So they just had no control over the airplane. They were lucky to get it in. It was, I mean, an excellent job of piloting by the entire crew. Now, this is the flight path that there's actually some pictures. I'll try to include those. You can see it crossing right across this road, and just shortly after that it starts to tumble and lands on the runway right over here. I'll get some more shots of that so you can see where that happened a little bit closer up. There's also some photos of this water tower, and you can see this water tower in the foreground in some photos. And just about the center of the shot right over there is where you see it burning in the background. The landscape has kind of changed a little bit. You know, things have grown up and buildings have been put up, but this is where you see the plane come in, and you can see it approaching to runway 22, and you can see the news crews are filming it as it comes through, and then it starts to tumble right in the center of the screen here and ends up in a cornfield right there in the center of this screen. They were supposed to land on runway 31. It was a longer runway, but they were not able to because they had no ability to steer or control the plane. So they ended up landing on a shorter runway. Really wouldn't have mattered because their wingtip got ripped off as soon as they landed, and they started to tumble. Here's the actual shot you see when it's tumbling. You can see the news crew filming through this fence right here, and it landing in that cornfield on the other side of the runway there. The name of this street that I'm on, where it happened, is actually the captain's name. It's Al Haynes Drive. That's kind of cool that they named it after him. Okay, this is the exhibit they have at the Air and Transportation Museum. This is the actual sign for the 232 service that crashed. They have an actual entire area set aside showing how they work towards disaster drills and how it actually worked in that case. A lot of pictures of the wreckage. There's Captain Owl. There's the National Guardsman carrying the child. And there's the fan disc. Here are some of the tickets That's the way a ticket used to be. And these are actual tickets that were burned in the wreckage. And this is kind of interesting. There's a letter here. It must be written by, I think, the mother. Yeah, the mother of Susan White, who was a stewardess on the plane. And she sent the shirt and tie that she had on the day that the accident happened. And supposedly on the back, you can see blood stains. Yep. Sure can. That's quite interesting. But thankfully she survived. This is the captain's seat that he was sitting in when the wreck occurred. How he made it out of that thing okay and not, dead. I don't know. It's completely mangled up. That's really kind of cool that they have that. Other pieces of the plane there. I'm about 5 miles north of the Sioux City airport now, and they've built a memorial right here on the banks of the Missouri River. And it's really nicely done. Let's just take a walk down through here. You can see the Missouri River in the background. There's also a whole bunch of stuff about Lewis and Clark. Just maybe half a mile up this way, there's some museums, and has to do with the Lewis and Clark expedition. But anyway, back to the matter at hand. But this is the nice memorial that they made for flight 232, and I think they dedicated it in 2014, and they had a 25th anniversary of it actually happening, and had all the flight crew and stuff that are still alive here. The captain was here, Captain Al Haynes. And this is a famous statue. The statue's famous because of the picture that was posted in one of the papers of a National Guardsman carrying a child away from the wreckage. And that made national headlines. And they called everything that happened that day, the way that everybody pitched in and tried to save people, they called it the spirit of the Sioux land. So if you're in this area, stop by and take a look. It's a really nice memorial that they put together. Thank you so much for watching.